All right. Hi, everyone. We have another moment with the mayor today, and I'm super excited to have our new Fire Chief, Mike Dobesh, with us. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time.
So, you've been with the Richfield Fire Department since 2012, and you've been a very active member in our community. But for some of the folks who are meeting you for the first time, can you tell us a little more about yourself, your career in fire, and how you became our fire chief?
Wow. Okay. So I have been in the fire service since 1996. And actually, my interest in the fire service started just before that as an athletic trainer. I started writing physical demands tests for area fire departments out in the West Metro. And I kind of got the fire bug at that time. And once I got the fire bug, I was looking around at how I could become a firefighter. And the city of St. Louis Park actually hired me in 1996 to be a paid on call firefighter. It was actually in that group of paid on call that I met Chief Kiewicz, and we became fast friends. And our fire service careers kind of paralleled each other. I got hired career in St. Louis Park in 1998, and the chief got hired here in 2000 in Richfield. So, and we kept in touch throughout the way. And then in 2004, I became the battalion chief of training in St. Louis Park. 2012, like you said, I came to Richfield. Chief Kiewicz was looking for an assistant chief, and I had no reason not to apply and work with my friends. So was able to join the ranks with Chief Kiewicz in 2012, and then obviously with the events of 2020 and his inability to come back to work, I was asked by the city manager if I would be interested in becoming the fire chief in Richfield, and I said yes. So here I am.
Wow, I really appreciate hearing the story. And I didn't know that, you two were connected and in different departments and just staying connected along the whole way and that he recruited you over here. So
Yeah.
that's great. So speaking about our former chief, Kiewicz, can the two of you, have worked together side by side, and like you just said, even before you were in the same department, you were connected. And so I know the two of you have such a special relationship, and when he was chief, you were right there working with him. So can you talk a little bit more about the relationship that you have with our former chief Kiewicz?
So we are friends, obviously, and that friendship started, like I said, back in 1996. So, like I said, our careers kind of paralleled each other. I got into the career side a little bit sooner than he did, but as a career firefighter in St. Louis Park, I was still training with the paid on call, so we would see each other continuously. And then when he got hired in 2000, um, I was, obviously very, very proud of him for the accomplishment. It was not easy to get a full-time fire job. And I think the big thing, as I watched his career evolve, just like my career did, when he was promoted to lieutenant, and then obviously to the assistant chief role with Chief Sven, we were able to parallel each other's careers. And as we kind of just kept going, our friendship obviously never went away, and we always were looking, how can we advance the fire service? How can we continue to grow the fire service while we were in our separate departments? And then as we started working together, certainly our focus became, how can we advance the Richfield Fire Department and make it the best organization we can? So the biggest thing that we have always focused on is our ability to respond on calls, because it really doesn't matter what happens in the front office. It's the stuff that happens on the front lines, and those are the things that we've always focused on, making sure that our men and women have the tools that they need to be successful when somebody calls.
Absolutely. And going to that point, you talked about making sure we have the tools we need. And so you've been a big proponent of the use of technology to improve health outcomes and safety outcomes and to focus on fire prevention. So what are some of the examples of what this looks like in terms of technological advancements in fire?
So again, I could go back a number of years with Chief Kiewicz and I. working with part of what's called the Minnesota Resuscitation Consortium. And probably back in the early 2000s, as firefighters, both Chief Kiewicz and myself worked very hard with Resuscitation Consortium to basically start to promote training for sudden cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac arrest management. We both achieved grants, and then we started doing some regional training as CPR instruction actually became easier. The American Heart Association started to talk about hands-only CPR, which really made teaching CPR a lot easier. So regionally, we started working on things with not only Richfield and St. Louis Park, but we also included Eden Prairie and Edina and all the other departments in the area to really kind of push this message of hands-only CPR. Along with that, looking at patient outcomes was probably the biggest thing, and trying to figure out how can we make sure that when somebody has a sudden cardiac arrest, that we're giving them the best treatment possible. So one obvious thing is making sure that people know hands-only CPR, so that as soon as somebody sees somebody go into cardiac arrest, that they start what's called the chain of survival. As firefighters, we obviously are bringing tools to that incident. And one of the things that we started right away, shortly after I got hired, was we brought on board what's called the Lucas machine. And that's compressions instead of firefighters. So it's a automatic compression device. It basically beats the heart for somebody. And we instituted that probably in 2013 or 2014. So we've had the technology for quite a while. There's been multiple different ways to manipulate the airway, so to make sure that somebody's breathing, and we've adjusted with those, and we kind of pioneered the King airway, which has now gone away, and now we are using what's called an iGel, and that iGel is really actually probably the easiest tool that I've seen for airway management in the field. And then we started hearing about this heads-up CPR device called the EleGuard. And what we noticed from the scientific side of the EleGuard was that this really had some potential to do some pretty amazing things. Most sudden cardiac arrest survivors end up with short-term memory loss, and nobody really knew why. But we started to look at the science, and the science was saying that we were basically concussing the brain every time we would do a compression. So we were giving those people basically brain trauma. And with the EleGuard, we were able to step in, reduce that pressure with the concussion waves to the brain, and basically achieve great neurologic outcomes with sudden cardiac arrest survivors. Never anticipating that Chief Kiewicz would be the benefactor of instituting that technology. Basically just trying to make sure that we were doing the best for the citizens of Richfield. So that's probably a long answer to a very short question. But I think one of the things that everybody listening needs to know is we are absolutely dedicated to making sure that we have the best possible outcome for the residents here in Richfield. We really want to be at the top of our game when somebody calls with their bad day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do think that our Richfield residents know we have an exceptional fire department, because when I'm out in the community, people are constantly talking about how great our fire services are, how quick you all are, how you've helped save lives, homes, animals, pets, and in our whole community, and you've stepped in so many different types of scenarios and have been there. So I do know that our residents know that we have, one of the best departments in the metro, if not maybe the best, and that they really do appreciate your leadership, Chief Kiewicz's leadership, and the tremendous work of our whole staff. And this actually kind of goes to the next point. So some cities have volunteer fire departments, others are hybrid, and we have a fully employed career fire department. And we do see cities now going through that, either going to that transition that we have here in Richfield, or doing a hybrid model. So can you talk a little bit about the benefits and why does Richfield have this career fire department, and other cities don't. What can you just share a little bit more about that? Because I actually do get quite a bit of questions from residents about the difference.
Yeah, so the the fact that we have a career department was something that was decided well before my time in Richfield. But really, when you looked at the demographics of Richfield, um, basically this is a hardworking community, and as hardworking communities, um, paid on call firefighters require a lot of time and attention. And I my personal experience or my personal thought would be that people didn't want to give up their time. So the only model that worked in Richfield, because everybody else was working one or two jobs, was the fact that maybe we do this career thing. And as a career department, certainly the benefits are every day that I'm not here, I know that I have at least 6 people. I know that 2 of them will be officers, and I have full confidence in my officers so that they can do the job, at least stopping the initial problem. And then if we need help, we have very robust auto aid and mutual aid agreements. So we'll get help from our neighbors. And then by the time the problem continues to escalate, myself or one of our other chiefs will be there so that we can help manage the incident. So the the strength of a career model really is the stability of it, right? So I have the opportunity to do a lot of training throughout the state, and one of the things that often comes up is in a paid on call model, you never really know who's going to be on the vehicle, and that can sometimes be a detriment, right? Because you don't know who's necessarily going to be arriving and taking command and doing the things that need to happen in the first 5 minutes. I'll
Right.
be honest, in Richfield, I know that the women and men that are showing up can take care of the problem in a very short matter. And if they can't handle it, they know exactly what to do to start to escalate it and bring the right resources to the scene. So I think we're very fortunate in the model that we have. Certainly the number of people is always the question, because we can go on basically 3 medicals at one time, or we can be starting a fire scene at one time. But like I said, with those robust auto aid and mutual aid agreements, we can really have everything that we need on scene in a very short matter to take care of the problem. So I
Great.
think the benefit of a 24-hour career fire department is that there's always going to be somebody here to take care of the problem.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I do know that our residents greatly appreciate our department, and I do think that some folks might not know that we have a career department, or some people come up to me and ask me why we do and why other cities don't. And I think just hearing the benefits and how it began is very helpful for our residents. So my last question, as our new fire chief, what are your future goals, your vision? What are your goals for our future of the community?
Well, I think your last question really kind of led into this one, right? I really want our fire department to be more visible. I think with the community that we serve, they should know and they should be proud of the fact that we are here, that we're here
Right.
24/7, 365. And um, I would like to see us just become a little bit more visible. Um, I think, like you've already said, we have a great department. We have great women and men that are ready to step up and meet whatever the challenge is in front of them. And my hope is that we can be a little bit more visible in the community. Um, I also really hope that the organization starts to continue the momentum that Chief Kiewicz had started, and that I can hopefully continue and keep that momentum going and build a very strong, resilient organization that quite frankly outlasts me in my time here. So I think those are probably the two big ones as far as the external view of the department. Internally, Mike is to the health and safety of the firefighters. And one of the things that we're realizing, especially with Chief Kiewicz's heart attacks, is how important it is that we take care of not only ourselves but the organization. And the benefit of having healthy firefighters is that we have a healthy organization. So internally, my focus is going to be on the cardiac disease, the mental health, PTSD issues within the organization, as well as cancer issues that we hope to hopefully mitigate and reduce those things that hurt firefighters. So um,
Absolutely.
so you'll see us more, hopefully, and you'll also see a even healthier fire service in the community. Those are my big hopes in my time as fire chief.
Those are great goals. And I think with COVID, we have seen how those health conditions can really impact our whole community. And then we have firefighters and the health and the well-being of their families, because having a firefighter in your household can be stressful. You know, you don't know when they'll get called out, and the things that they're facing are so tremendously difficult. And we see that still during COVID. So I thank all of the firefighters in our department. I thank their families, and I thank you, Chief, for your leadership. And thank you for this little bit of time to talk about who you are and your vision for the community. And I really look forward to working with you.